Welcome back to the Nach on Sports, and joining me in studio is my good friend Brandon Schultz from the Seahawkers podcast as we break down, unfortunately, the Seahawks lost to the Cowboys 24-22. Brandon, always great to talk to you, man. I wish it could be under different circumstances with your Seahawks going and advancing in the divisional round.
It's tough, man. You don't expect the end of the year. I wasn't expecting it to be this week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talked about it last week, how I really thought that the Seahawks would be able to get by one more win and take on either the Rams or the Saints, and then to see the Eagles get the win against the Bears, that would have given the Seahawks a shot against the Rams one more time. And it kind of seems like that's how it's been working out this year, right? When the team that won earlier on is losing the second time.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah, so, I mean, let's just break down this game with that. And for me, listen, and I know Pete Carroll said this yesterday, he wished they would have passed more, but you guys are a running football team. And unfortunately, Dallas found a way to stop the run. You guys only had 73 rushing yards, which is well below your average of 168 games. So is there really a lot of blame, in sticking to the run too long?
I wish they would have passed more, too, but because of just the way, and my co-host Adam on the podcast said it really well. We did a recap show after the game, and he said that, they didn't pick up a lot of yards, but the run was effective, and that it was effective that Cowboys were absolutely selling out to stop Chris Carson every time he touched the ball. And so that's what opened up some of those deep passes downfield, and really they didn't go to that until late in the third quarter. So had they gone to it a little bit sooner rather than the end of the third quarter, then who knows how different it would have been. But at the same time, you brought up that's kind of the Seahawks identity, right? Mm-hmm. And I think when the Seahawks went up 14-10, at that point, I don't think Seahawks fans were all that upset as to what had happened before. So right. Being up 14-10, okay, now it's playing out to the exact type of road game that we've seen the Seahawks win a lot.
Fair enough. Like I said, I mean, for me, one other thing I will say, though, and I am kind of curious about this, what do you think about the pressure? Because Russell Wilson did have to run a little bit as well.
And I think that's what came down to the Cowboys winning this game was the front seven of the Cowboys against the Seahawks offensive line. They were dominant. Mm-hmm. They dominated the line, and really the Seahawks offense or the Seahawks defensive line, they weren't able to get enough pressure on Dak either, especially late in the game. So really, it was one, they talk about winning in the trenches. And I think Dallas won in the trenches in this game. But the Seahawks, they still had their chances.
Well, they did.
I mean, KJ Wright gets that interception when it looks like the Cowboys are going in for, potentially another score late in the fourth quarter or early on in the fourth quarter. And the Seahawks get the ball back, and then it's a holding call on Justin Britt. It's they had another penalty. The Fluker got the running down the field, not looking where he was going, bumped into the Cowboys guy and gets called for a personal foul. So,
jeez.
So you had those back-to-back penalties, and then all of a sudden you're in 2nd and 20, 3rd and 20, and you can't do anything with it. You got to give it back to the Cowboys, and that's when they were able to tack on some more points.
How much of a backbreaker was that 3rd and 14 late in the game? Because you guys have them at that distance, hold them, maybe they kick a field goal, you're still only down 6 with still a chance to win the game, and you got to score a touchdown. So how much of a backbreaker was that 3rd and 14 play that Dak?
That was because they were up 17-14 at that point. Mm-hmm. And 3rd and 14. And you had both Bobby Wagner and Bradley McDougald who were there that could have stopped Prescott short running up the middle, and they both missed him. Like, two are your best tacklers. And so that's why it's difficult to be really mad because, I mentioned that one offensive possession where it was all the penalties. And really that entire drive was frustrating because they had him on a 3rd and short twice. And the KJ Wright, they got KJ Wright on a pass interference or holding penalty, and which was ticky-tack. And then the Coleman penalty, which I could see them calling that one. But so you had back-to-back 3rd downs where the Seahawks are penalized. And that was the interesting thing about the officiating in the game. They had really allowed a lot to that point in the game up until the fourth quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, they were calling everything. Mm-hmm. So it was curious that why change from the way you had been calling consistently throughout the game to clamping down in the fourth quarter. And it's hard to be mad at the officials because, yes, the Seahawks in that moment, they had a 3rd and long and they allowed Dak Prescott to run up the middle and both their best tacklers whiffed on him. And they could have gotten the ball back. The Cowboys could have kicked a field goal. They would have been up 6 points and they would have had plenty of time to try and drive down the field and score the winning touchdown.
Yeah, I mean,
although it would have been interesting down 6 points. Would they have gone for another 2-point conversion, or would they have tried to do the Michael Dixon, drop kick for a point?
That would have been really interesting because they really never had to cross that path, did they?
No. It was when they went up 12-10 and they came out for the 2-point conversion, and then the next time when they went for 2 points, that was kind of the interesting part because it was 24-21, or it was 24-20. And they decided to go for 2 late in the game rather than even attempt a Michael Dixon kick just to see how it would look if they were able to get an onside recovery, and would they have tried to attempt a long field goal if they would have gotten an onside recovery.
Well, the only thing is, though, is that can you try a long field goal with Michael Dixon?
I mean, you could try, but it would have been. That's why I'm curious why they didn't try it with the extra point,
right? To
see how he would do, to see if it was even, because then it would have been kicking a field goal to tie it rather than kicking for the win. But
it was
interesting how it played out.
Yeah, I was going to say that was one of the better games of the wild card weekend. That was at least better than the Houston Texans Indianapolis Colts game for sure.
You had a fourth quarter that was watchable.
Exactly. With that, Brandon, and I said this on my show last night, kind of recapping what happened. I think for the Seahawks, and we've talked about this, so it feels a little repetitive, but to me, again, this team feels like when they made the playoffs, in a way they lost to the Falcons in the division round. This is a young team, but they still need to add a few pieces. So getting to the playoffs, I feel like for the Seahawks was a bonus this year just because you know what you have. And we know the Seahawks now with the young defense that they have, obviously the franchise quarterback in Russell Wilson, some of the weapons he already has with Tyler Lockett emerging and how good he was this year, the running game as well. This team's not going anywhere in terms of the playoff conversation.
Yeah, it feels like a young team that's on its way up now. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it turned around that quickly after losing so many star players in one offseason, losing coaches that had been with the team for such a long time. And so that's where I think there's a big reason for optimism, is that as mad as people were about Schottenheimer and not going to the pass a little bit sooner, adjusting to what the Cowboys defense was showing them, he's going to be back next year. I expect Ken Norton Jr. to be back next year, and then barring, head coaching vacancies, I guess there's so many of them. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if I expect those two to quite be candidates at this point. So I expect most of the coaches to be back. I guess the one question in terms of coaches would be special teams coordinator, just because special teams was pretty tough down the stretch for Seattle. If they made a change there, it wouldn't surprise me.
Does Janikowski come back?
I don't know if Janikowski comes back. Yeah, seeing him go down, and he's been up and down this year, but at the same time, looking at what the Bears went through in their loss, I think I trust a guy like Janikowski more than some of these unknown younger kickers too.
Well, I was going to say the only reason you don't bring him back is because of the injuries. Because there's been, 2 games at least this year he couldn't come back from.
He took off some plays in the middle of one game. Okay. And then this was the only time that he really couldn't kick, an extra point attempt or a field goal late in the game. So if he comes back to compete, I guess it wouldn't shock me.
Right.
It's just I don't know who you're going to get to come in that's going to be better. I mean, they had Jason Myers at the beginning of the season competing, and then he went to the Pro Bowl for the AFC. So that's a little frustrating.
Decisions, and lots of them are going to have to be made. But Brandon, as we were talking about, there are some of the things that for the Seahawks, the optimism for this team. For me, I think the priority number one is getting another pass rusher, finding somebody to help along the defensive line. I know Reed had a good year, Clark had a good year, but you still need maybe 1 or 2 more pass rushers if you can get them. And especially with this draft, it looks like there's going to be plenty of them. And along with that, I would say grabbing, if you can, another offensive lineman just to help, and then maybe a weapon for Russell Wilson. But for you, what is the priority going into the offseason to address?
Yeah, I look on both the offensive and defensive lines for the team. I'm curious to see what they're going to do, because they have J.R. Sweezy that would be a free agent. He played really well this year at left guard. Mm-hmm. At right guard, they had DJ Fluker, who played pretty well. But I see those guys as they're just so average, and they're maybe even below average. I mean, it was just going from having like a historically terrible offensive line to one where you go, oh, hey, they can block. It seemed like such an improvement over previous years.
It felt like you had a Pro Bowl line.
It almost did. But, really when you think about it, it's like, well, they're all kind of okay except for Dwayne Brown, who made, second team All-Pro. So, yeah, you're right. Defensive line, I think they count on Rasheem Green, their third-round pick from this last year, to develop a little bit more. Frank Clark didn't really start developing until his, second, third years. So, they're going to have to take care of him now in the offseason. And I look at linebacker. I don't know if KJ Wright's going to be back. The secondary, I'm curious to see how that's going to grow because really they don't.
What do you do with Thomas?
I don't think he comes back either, unless, there's just injury concerns with both Thomas and with KJ Wright that I don't know that unless it's an incentive-laden contract for either of those guys, I don't know if you bring them back.
Fair enough. I know we're going to talk to Brandon about more of those off-season details, but Brandon, let's talk about the rest of the playoffs right now. I don't know about you, man, but for me, I hate the Saints. I hate the Eagles. Not too fond of the Rams, and it's the Dallas Cowboys that are left there as well. Not exactly a big Dallas Cowboys fan.
Right.
I've argued more with Cowboys fans than any other fan base, really. So I don't know who to root for from the NFC. What about you?
Yeah, well, I came on last week, and I was telling you my Super Bowl pick was the Bears, and they end up going out in the first round against the Eagles. Nick Foles and his postseason magic. I'm kind of wondering because now, for me, it's the Saints. Now, I understand you being a Tampa Bay Bucs fan. Like, it's really hard to root for a team that's in your division.
I hate the Saints. I hate Saints fans.
And so I can see why you would be there. I'm the same way against the Rams. I can't root for them. And then, NFC East teams, neither of those teams were all that great this season, playing in not a great division. I don't like the idea of either of those teams being in the Super Bowl after having, kind of mediocre seasons. I didn't think the Seahawks were going to go to the Super Bowl either. So I feel like it kind of should be the Saints because they put together, and the reason why my interest in the Bears is because they were so consistent all year long. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard on the NFC side of the football. And as long as it's not the Patriots on the AFC, I guess I can get behind any of those teams.
Well, they got some really good quarterbacks on that end.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and get to some picks real quick. Cowboys-Rams.
Yeah.
Who are you taking in that one?
I think the Rams are going to win.
Is it close?
It'll be close because I do think the matchup with the Cowboys' ability to run the football and the Rams, toward the end of the season, they were giving up 5 yards per carry to a running back. Mm-hmm. So to go against Elliott, I could see that matching up really well. But I also, if the Cowboys go into it with the same game plan of just trying to stop Todd Gurley, I think the Rams will beat him beat.
I agree.
They won't be able to have that same type of game plan against the Rams that they did Seattle because they'll go downfield right away.
I will say this, though. I don't trust the Rams defense. I like the Cowboys defense. I think it keeps them in the game.
Right. Yeah. And I agree with you too. That Rams defense, it's not good.
No, not at all. Not at all.
The Saints defense is better.
Well, not by much. The Saints taking on the Eagles. I think this is a blowout in my mind. I think the Saints win big in New Orleans.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Saints are going to win.
Let's go to, I think, the Chargers. They've got the Patriots. This is one of the more interesting games because I'm rooting for the Chargers here. I like the Chargers out of the AFC. If I've got one team that I'm going to root for, I think, in the playoffs, I think it's going to be Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. I think the Chargers pull off the upset in Gillette. I think the Patriots have been a struggling team. I think they've got too many holes to fill. The defense isn't very good. All they can do is run the football. Tom Brady hasn't been his normal greatness self, and so I'm going to take the Chargers on the upset.
Yeah, I heard an interesting stat that the Chargers, every time they've gotten on a plane to travel to a road game, they've won that road game. They're
undefeated.
It was the one game against the Rams where they took a bus for their road game across town. This is the one they lost. So every time, that was the one road loss for them. They have the defense, they have the pass rush to be able to take out Genghis Tom Brady and the Patriots. I'm going with the Chargers too.
And then on the other AFC matchup, the Colts and the Chiefs. I think this could be a shootout.
But I don't trust. Well, I don't trust that Chiefs defense. The Colts actually have a defense.
Which is still very odd to say.
It's weird. And they have an offensive line to protect the quarterback?
I wish Tampa Bay could have gotten Quentin Nelson.
Yeah.
I really wish. I mean, good
Was
Lord.
he available?
No, the Colts took him before we could.
Okay, he was right before.
Right, but I still want him.
Yeah.
I mean, just seeing what he's done for that offensive line, protecting Andrew Luck,
changed.
you know? But I will say this, the Chiefs are number one, and I didn't realize this, in at least this defensive statistic, 52 sacks on the year, so they can get after the quarterback. So I am thinking the Chiefs defense, if they can get after Andrew Luck, then, you know, I think their defense will have success, but ultimately I could see this game being 42-35, 42-37.
I see it going the same way. You know, who's going to have the ball last? Which quarterback makes a mistake? It's going to be tough because one hasn't really been proven in the playoffs in Patrick Mahomes, but he's also the league MVP. And then Andrew Luck, he's made his share of mistakes in the playoffs too.
I think the last time he was in the playoffs was when Deflategate started.
Yeah.
You know, aside from last week beating Houston.
Their finalist the banner that's hanging up in the rafters, right?
Yeah, exactly. So who you taking in this game?
I'm going to take the Chiefs, playing at home.
All right, every Chiefs fan's really happy about that because I can't imagine being a Chiefs fan right now. They all have to be freaking the hell out right now.
Yeah, when is Andy? Well, you as a Chiefs fan, you're wondering, when is Andy Reid going to blow it in the postseason? Is it going to be the first round? Is it going to be in the second? Yeah, is it going to be in the championship or is it going to be in the Super Bowl? Because it seems like Andy Reid, he has his moments late in the game where he blows it every year.
We'll see. We'll see if he doesn't do it. Hopefully for Chiefs fans, again, another team. I would say this. I would have no problem seeing a Chiefs-Chargers AFC title game.
That'd be fun.
I think that'd be more entertaining than the NFC
And then
one.
playing the Saints in the Super Bowl. Either one of those teams against the Saints could be fun.
I think the top two seeds have to win this weekend. I think it just have to be the way.
Yeah. All right, Anthony. Well, how about a little bonus show material for our show now that I've gone on your show? But as we're sitting here, we find out some head coaching news. It sounds like the Cardinals might have their new head coach.
Yeah, you guys are going to get Cliff Kingsbury in the division now. The former head coach of Texas Tech, the former OC for the USC Trojans for like a month.
Yeah.
And now he's the head coach in the NFC West.
So, see, I don't know a whole lot about him. He was actually the OC he got hired on as OC and not head coach?
At USC, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Clay Helton's still the head coach there.
Okay. See, I don't follow college enough to know where all these pieces are. But so he was fired from Texas Tech.
Yep. Like 2.5 months ago, he was fired from Texas Tech.
And for any particular reason, just
wasn't the results. The results weren't good. Texas Tech was still like either middling or below average in the Big 12.
So is this the Cardinals trying to go and find like the next Sean McVay type guy?
Yeah. Everyone thinks Cliff Kingsbury is going to be the next Sean McVay. He's a young guy,
I keep hearing his
mind.
name, but I don't.
He ran the air raid.
Okay.
Or former versions of it because Texas. But here's the thing though, with Cliff Kingsbury, and any head coach at Texas Tech, this is what surprises me. And this is also kind of surprised me about Patrick Mahomes. Texas Tech has been running this offense and been running these high-scoring offenses for years.
Yeah.
This isn't, new, but all of a sudden Cliff Kingsbury's name is somehow, linked to Sean McVay, and everyone thinks that he's going to be this new offensive guru. He's going to bring these things in. I feel like there's a lot of hype to this, and so for me, I look at it, I mean, it's exciting if you're a fan of the Cardinals, I guess, but I don't think that's going to translate. But yeah, he's used to be the head coach for Texas Tech, got them to 1 year where they were really good, maybe challenging for the Big 12 conference. But outside of that, they've been in the middle of the pack, and they haven't won a lot of games, and the defense is horrendous, but the offense can score 50 points.
See, that was the thing, though. With Sean McVay, he at least was showing success in the NFL with an NFL offense in Washington.
Was he, though? Because, you had Kirk Cousins there. Remember, though, when the Rams hired McVay, your first thought was, because I didn't know who the hell McVay was.
Right.
It wasn't all that appealing of a hire. Now it looks like a genius move.
Sure. Yeah, I'm really curious about this because, the last time we had a college coach that was really hyped up for success in the NFL, it was Chip Kelly.
Yeah, and he spurred the Bucs, and then I think a year later went to the Eagles afterwards. But we know what happened to Chip Kelly. He kind of really flamed out.
Right, had the one final year in San Fran, and
I would say the most recent successful college head coach that went to the NFL and has actually had legitimate success would obviously be Carroll. Because I can't think of anybody else. Because the NFL has been kind of wary of hiring college coaches.
Well, and Carroll had both stints with the Patriots and Jets, and a lot of his career, he came up through the NFL.
True. But I mean, we know Carroll. He got his second opportunity because of his success at USC,
right? Exactly.
And because he also had to leave. Otherwise, he was going to get suspended or fined or fired.
Yeah, other than that, I mean, who do you look at? I guess Jimmy Johnson having success in college.
Yeah, I would say so, because Butch Davis never really, had success. Nick Saban, obviously, we know never really had success, even though he really didn't get a shot. Yeah, Spurrier, no. Oh man, I felt bad for Washington Redskins fans that day. College coaches really haven't worked out a whole lot in the NFL.
So this sounds like good news for Seahawks fans.
Yeah, good news. You guys will continue to run the division. You'll just still have to worry about the Rams, obviously. But the Cardinals, they might be in trouble still for the next couple of years. They might be hiring in 3 years.
Well, another interesting thing, it sounds like, talking to you, Mr. Tampa Bay Bucs fans, somebody that Seahawks fans are familiar with, the former Arizona head coach, Bruce Arians, may be linked to the job in Tampa Bay. How are you feeling about this?
I am not thrilled about this at all. I mean, we're doing the retread thing. And the funny part is I saw this.
It's a name, though, Anthony.
I don't want the name.
You wanted McCarthy. That was your name.
That was my name. Or that name that I wanted. I wanted McCarthy.
You wanted a big name.
I wanted a big name. McCarthy would have worked. McCarthy is not old and retired because of health issues.
Yeah.
Bruce Arians, on the other hand, left Arizona, a year ago, and retired because he said he had health issues. And he came out in the middle of the season, said he only wanted to be for one job, and that was the Cleveland job. And, well, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Cleveland turned him down. So Tampa wants him. I'm not feeling this move because I think I could literally see us hiring again from this time of year, either a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, or at the very most, 4 years from now. I don't see Bruce Arians being here long term as a head coach.
The interesting thing is with Arians is you hear from a lot of his players how much they love him. But at the same time, he's always calling out the players as it being their fault and never taking responsibility on his own. And it's so funny because I've seen some press conferences where he goes, yeah, I'm going to take ownership on that particular, it was something that went wrong in the game. He decides to take ownership of it. And then midweek, after he reviews the tape, he comes out and goes, oh yeah, that wasn't my fault.
That's the other thing too. I'm kind of curious about this because he doesn't have a veteran like Carson Palmer, which he had for most of his stint in Arizona. He's got Jameis Winston, and no offense, I think Bruce Arians might actually get away with that excuse because Jameis Winston provides that excuse for you when he throws interceptions and fumbles the football. So this for me Tampa's in a very difficult position. I look at it, either Bruce Arians is going to be successful or we're going to be bad and we're going to have to move on from Jameis Winston. But I think it's going to be one or the other. If we're in the middle, oh boy, then we're really screwed.
Yeah, you don't want to be in the middle. That's the worst spot to be. But I think the one way I could see this going for you is because Arians has had success with some pretty high-profile quarterbacks, Ben Roethlisberger, Andrew Luck, Carson Palmer, you'll at least know if Jameis is going to be your guy after this year.
Oh, that does me a lot of good. I want to go back to the playoffs. You know how long it's been since Tampa Bay's been in the playoffs?
Yeah.
It's been 12 years.
That's too long.
It's way too long. And we lost to the Giants in 2007, and that's when they made their first Super Bowl run and knocked off the Patriots off their undefeated season. And so for me, I look at this Arians hire would have been great when he took Andrew Luck and he was, the interim head coach for the Colts. If we would have hired him before the Cardinals did, I'd be thrilled about this move. But I feel like, once again, this is a move too little too late for Bruce Arians. I feel like this is going to be a retread. We're not going to win many ball games, and Bruce Arians is just going to throw fits.
Yeah, guys late in their career like that, you don't see it working out all that well. Now, you brought up something interesting, the Bucs losing to the Giants. As a Seahawks fan, should I be rooting for the Cowboys to go all the way now? Will I feel any better watching the Cowboys win a Super Bowl, knowing that we had a chance to take them out in first round, but then they were able to go all the way?
That is the dumbest thing. I've heard this in sports. That is literally the dumbest thing. Oh, I should be happy because my team lost to the eventual Super Bowl champ. I don't care. My team lost. They weren't Super Bowl champions when they lost.
Yeah.
It's like my Bucs.
But to know that you lost to the best, isn't that at least a little bit of comfort?
Are they though? Like, teams go on a hot run. Like, we lost to the Giants. I really don't care. The Giants stunk that year. We stunk up that playoff game. We played at home and lost it. Yeah. I'm more upset because we were at home and we lost to the Giants. We never should have lost that game.
Okay.
So for me, I am never one of those fans that sits there and goes, oh, because we lost this team, we should root for them to go to the Super Bowl and win. So, we lost to the champs. I'm like, nah, we just lost. Let's just leave it there. That's for me. It's at least my opinion anyway.
Well, you're talking about on your show, weren't you, the idea of close losses versus blowout losses?
Yeah. I that's always interesting. Would you rather be blown out or would you rather lose a close game like the Bears did?
Yeah.
Knowing you had a chance and you had an opportunity, whereas you knew early on that this game's out of hand. We didn't come prepared, and in the playoffs, we know we're not advancing. I'm very curious. What's your take on that? Would you rather? And I'm sure you've experienced.
I don't
this.
know why. Yeah, I walked into this knowing that this is a sensitive subject for fans within the fandom. I do have thoughts on this though, because back-to-back years you had the Seahawks blowout victory over the Broncos, and shortly after halftime you knew what the outcome was going to be, so it was a lot easier to accept. Whereas, take this last second loss with the Bears and the Eagles, losing on a field goal would be tough because it comes down to a kick. I think I'd rather lose on a play versus a kick. But I'd also, losing to a referee call would be the very worst, I think.
What's worse for you, though? I mean, because when you talk about the kicking, I look at the kicking game now. Kicking is more pressure for fans now than I would say maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Or maybe it's just ever since they changed the rule with the extra points.
Right.
But it just doesn't feel like because it used to feel like the 35 or the 30-yard field goal was a gimme. You felt like that was a gimme. I don't even know if that's a gimme anymore.
Well, it's not. And all you have to do is go to the Vikings game against the Seahawks when it was, the below zero frigid game, and Blair Walsh with what was the old time extra point distance, like 19 yards out, and misses it for a chance to win the game. Yeah. I think, did that one come up for Vikings fans on the radio? For a Vikings fan, I would think that for a Vikings fan, that would have to be one of the worst losses.
That's one of the worst losses in recent memory because you're at home. You win that. I would say Vikings fans would say that. Some of the answers I got were kind of across the spectrum. I did get, and this will make Seahawks fans happy, I got a lot of Packers fans that said that NFC Championship game against the Seahawks was really painful for them to watch.
I can imagine. 5 minutes left and you're up by, 2 scores? You think you got it locked up?
Well, I'm not sure what's worse, watching that or just in overtime. You guys just one big play, touchdown, game's over. It's like you guys didn't even have a fight in the OT.
Yeah.
So, but that was one. Dallas fans came up to me with the Green Bay game when Dez was it a catch? Was it not? That's the one that hurts the most for them. Yep. Even though I think they have a lot of painful losses in their playoff
Tony
history.
Romo game.
Yeah,
we got to see a lot of that in this last game.
Yeah, I was about to say that memory came up a lot.
Yeah.
And then we went to baseball. We had a couple guys bring up baseball, the 96 World Series for a couple of Braves fans against the Yanks. And then I had some hockey ones, which were really interesting. But, I mean, for me, most gut-wrenching loss is to the freaking Rams, man, in 1999. That hurt. And then, we watched Tampa Bay.
And they went on to win the Super Bowl, too, didn't they?
The Rams?
Yeah, in 99.
Yeah, they did that year. They went on to win it, and that was the 1-yard line Kevin Dyson reception.
Oh, man.
And I had a Titans fan tell me that game.
Yeah.
You and Titans fans, you guys got something in common.
A little bit. Although, what one would be worse between that Titans game, just coming up 1 yard short or having it picked?
I got to imagine,
coming up 1 yard short is tough.
It's tough, but I would say you guys are on the 1 yard line. I would say that's hard.
That's true, because with the opportunity to run it in versus throw it.
Right.
Because there was still plenty of time.
And it was also the hated Patriots at the time, the Rams were a feel-good story. The Titans, they had McNair. They were a good football team. They were a feel-good story, too. So you really couldn't go wrong with
that whole game of who has it worse is a tough road to go down.
Oh, it really is. I mean, do you feel worse for Bills fans because they got blown out? They got blown out in Super Bowls and they lost one on a missed field goal.
Yeah.
So do Buffalo fans who lost 4 straight Super Bowls, do they have it worse?
I would think so. Losing 4 straight Super Bowls would be terrible.
I mean, yeah, and like I said, I think for me, though...
I know it was like to lose that first one as a Seahawks fan against the Steelers. Mm-hmm. And then, fortunately, they do get the big win over the Broncos. And that made the loss not hurt as much. If that third loss, if that would have been, if they would have lost to the Broncos for some reason the second time, and then to be that close to a win against the Patriots and to lose that way, that would have been a lot tougher to take.
Yeah, I would say that you guys would be right there in that conversation with Bills fans. And to flip this on this head, because I'm kind of curious about this. Now, you guys will be remembered for your defense that year, but you blew them out. So I go back to, I think the last blowout before your guys' Super Bowl was the Bucs in 2002.
Okay.
And I always feel like nobody cares about the blowout Super Bowls.
They don't, no.
No one ever talks or brings them up.
They think about them as terrible games.
So what's worse, winning a Super Bowl that was a blowout, or would you rather win it as a close game?
Ooh. Have it be like an historic game that you see. Oh, I would rather have it be a close one because those are the ones that they're going to show on NFL Network, and so you'll get fired up for that moment at the end of the game. Like if the Packers and Seahawks, if that championship game, or really even go to the year before, everybody thinks of the Super Bowl as being that 49ers Seahawks matchup from that season. That was the game. Mm-hmm. And so to have that be the defining Super Bowl win, if you had something like that happen, if the tip was at the end of the Super Bowl to win the game.
Right. But if you're in a blowout, your team's doing the blowing out, you're comfortable, you're going to win the game.
Oh yeah. I still go back and watch that Super Bowl.
I'm still watching the Bucs Super Bowl. I still have the 2002 DVD.
Right.
I watched that Saturday night before the Super Bowl. Just kind of, remember when a good Bucs team was playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting discussion though. What's better? Win close, win big? I feel more comfortable if I win big, but there's the potential of, the hindsight being 2020 that, you won it, but also you could have lost it.
Yeah. Every time you win, it's good.
Yeah. So, I'll never complain about a win.
No. And I don't know if I told you, I was at the Super Bowl the year that they won that 43-8 game. So that was a great one to be at because it was just a party the whole time.
I was in a Hooters in Florida.
Yeah.
Our waitress was really cute. But yeah, I mean,
we had similar experiences then, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I would still go with, I'd rather win the close one too, just because it is more memorable. And so, I mean, like I said, it would be kind of nice to see, okay, if Tampa Bay's had a really good Super Bowl, because you're right, I'll see the highlights on NFL Network. It doesn't feel like people just blow it by because, nobody talks about that Super Bowl. They bring up your defense, which also kind of annoyed the crap out of me because somebody brought up the 13, I think it was the Chargers Ravens pregame. They brought up your guys' defense. They brought up the no-fly zone Broncos defense a couple of seasons ago, the 2000 Ravens, the 85 Bears. Everyone always
left out the Bucs.
They left out the Bucs.
Oh, that's messed up.
Well, it's because you guys have a cool nickname. We didn't have a nickname for our O2 defense. You guys have the Legion of Boom. Yeah. And that's one of my greatest regrets. Our defense has no nickname.
No nickname. Yeah, you guys missed. We
missed out. We messed up. But yeah, I mean, and
Warren Sapp and the Sappinators.
No. You had John Lynch, you had Derek Brooks, you had Warren Sapp, you had Simeon Rice. I think Simeon Rice had more impact than Warren Sapp. Yeah. It is funny to play that game though. Worst loss, is it worse to blow out, lose close, and same on the other side, win close or win big?
Well, thanks for playing it with me, Anthony.
I feel like I've lost again.
Me too, a little bit, because the memories.